NFL DFS Showdown slate analysis for Monday night's matchup between the Dolphins and the Steelers. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy and single game $1 million winner. Let's take a first look at tonight's Showdown slate before the daily plug is up on occupyfantasy.com, just to get a sense of the players tonight, who we should be looking at in our captain spots, how different players are fitting into our lineups, and what other people may be thinking when they're setting their lineups on FanDuel and DraftKings tonight. First and foremost, if you're not already, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube to get more videos. This is the first time we've done a first look video for a Showdown slate, so if you like it, definitely hit that like button below. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. So the goal of this video is going to be short, maybe 10 minutes long, and looking at some high-level stuff for tonight. The daily plug on occupyfantasy.com will dive in depth on each player, go in depth on strategy and contest to play. I write that, and seeing what has transpired through the first 8 weeks of the season for these showdown slates, huge edges continue to remain, and I think another night like tonight, there will be tons of leverage in high-risk contests. Now, it's going to be different from slate to slate, and most slates were able to create a very nice high floor, low risk lineup, and tonight's no different. There are some nights where it is a little difficult. Tonight seems to be a pretty safe bet, but then again, in our shots we take in our high risk contests, our satellites, our leagues, our GPPs, there's going to be concentrated captain ownership tonight. So let's start talking about that. So I think the first thing we have to look at tonight is pricing, especially on DraftKings. It's actually incredible because you look at James Conner, 13,400 here on DraftKings, nearly 3K higher than the next closest player. And then, of course, as tilting as it's been, we see it again for I think 3 of the past four slates have now had this, where we had the Patriots defense at 7,800 on Showdown. We had the Vikings defense at 8,200, whatever it was. Steelers are now at 8K on DraftKings, and we all know the statistic. Defenses playing against Miami is a top 5 fantasy play this year, averaging more than double-digit fantasy points per game. But 8K is just too much for a defense, and we have to understand this for high-risk contests. And we know, just looking at ownership, look at the Vikings defense from Thursday night, look at the Patriots defense and their matchup with the Jets. The Steelers defense, despite the elevated price tag, is going to be at least 50% owned. They're probably going to be in 20% of the captain spots in high-risk contests. And what that means is they have to score 15-plus points at least for this to be worth playing. Is that going to happen? It's not likely. Now, I know the Miami's historically inept offense plays a lot into this, but we have to play the percentages here. Is the Steelers defense really going to be the highest scoring player on the slate, like the Vikings and the Patriots defense have been doing? We have to play against that in high risk contests. So if you start with the Steelers, this is how most people are going to start their lineups tonight: low risk, high risk, and it's really where we need to take advantage. So they're either going to click one of two buttons when they start their lineups tonight. They're going to start with James Conner, 14-point favorite. Think about this from a classic perspective, classic DraftKings, classic FanDuel perspective. If we have a full slate, we have a team that is a 14-point favorite, a 14-point home favorite. The running back's going to be in a great spot and be highly owned, assuming he gets a decent workload. And the defense is going to be pretty highly owned and in a good spot. And that's what we have tonight. James Conner, 14-point home favorite. Steelers, 14-point home favorite. On a regular slate, these guys would be popular, and as a result, they're going to be popular on the showdown slate. And so, I'd be willing to bet tonight that James Conner ends up with roughly 30% captain ownership. Not only because he's a running back on a home favorite, but also because, as crazy as this sounds, he is the highest priced player, and that is one of the first players people click, especially casual players. And there's even some bias in non-casual players. The highest owned guy or the highest price guy is going to be the first choice for captain. And it makes sense. Like a 14-point home favorite, Connor should be one of the first players you click into your lineup, right? Just from a a game scripts expectation perspective, sure. So James Conner, and then the Steelers defense is 14-point home favorites. It's been a common trend on showdown slates where there are large favorites. I'd be willing to bet that roughly 50% of the captain ownership tonight is Conner and the Steelers. Now, is Conner and the Steelers combined, do they have a 50% chance of being the highest scorer, 1-2? I'd be willing to wager that that number is lower. And that's where the leverage comes in high-risk contests. Not to mention, if you put in Conner 20,000, literally 40% of your cap, it really handcuffs you as to what you can do with the rest of your lineup. And because of that, you're going to see a lot of the same types of lineups with Conner at captain. Steelers defense allows you a little more flexibility, but you have to understand just the upside of defenses. A defense isn't going to score more than 25 points. The Patriots defense was the highest score in the Monday night game against the Jets. And again, that was incredibly frustrating. But we have to play the percentages here. Receivers have higher upside, especially in trailing game scripts. And if you're going to play a high-risk contest tonight and your goal is to win, you really shouldn't be using Conner or the Steelers defense in your captain spot. Now, this is going to get a lot of hate, and in all likelihood, Conner or the Steelers, in expectation, they have some of the highest likelihoods of being the highest owned player. But given game theory, given the captain percentages of other players and their expectations, then that's what we have to play into for high-risk contests. Now, low risk, it's a completely different story. Low risk, you want to jam in as many high-owned, high-floor plays as you can. And that's where we'll play those guys. And that's where most of your allocation should be anyways. 80 to 90% of your money that you're putting into play tonight should be in those low-risk contests. So now, even in those contests, though, it's hard to put in Conner and the Steelers defensive captain and have a high floor lineup. Now, in low risk, we love to play both quarterbacks, both running backs, defenses, kickers to get that high floor. Conner, great spot. Steelers, great spot. And now we put in both quarterbacks, Rudolph and Fitzpatrick, and now we have 1,300 per player. Can't happen. Absolutely cannot happen. These are the four guys you're going to want in your lineup in low risk, 50-50s, double ups, head-to-heads. And as you see, by even captaining Conner, you're not going to be able to do that unless you put in some of these guys down here, which some people will do, and that is not the way to go about it in Showdown. Unless a guy is completely mispriced and in a full-time role, you really don't need to play anybody 1,000 or below. We see that mistake a lot in single-game slates. Maybe Balaj. I think a lot of people will end up playing him tonight. We'll see, because Kenyon Drake is out. He is going to be traded, so he didn't travel with the team. So just Mark Walton, Kalen Balaj in the backfield. And I think looking at this, what a lot of people will try to do to fit in Conner in the Steelers defense, they'll be dropping down to Kalen Balaj at 1,600. Balaj only had 3 touches last week with Kenyon Drake in the lineup, but Balaj is the goal line back. So if they do make it into the red zone, Balaj will get some touches near the goal line, could fall into the end zone. And I think this is where a lot of people will end up going tonight. So what we're going to end up seeing is many lineups that look the same. And in high-risk contests on single-game slates, that's exactly what you want. Because if those lineups fail, a lot of people are failing with them, and you have the leverage to really shoot up the leaderboards, have a unique lineup. Because the goal is, if you're playing the $10 GPP on DraftKings, you're playing satellites or the smaller GPPs or leagues, your goal shouldn't be to split 350 ways like that has been happening with some of these really popular lineups hitting. It's like being in a casino, right? And as they say, even when you win, you lose, because the odds aren't reflective of that. The payouts aren't reflective of the actual odds. So if you get first place out of 150,000 people, but you only get 8K or 10K, whatever, that's nice for most people. That's a great bankroll boost, but you're not getting the true odds, right? First place is 300K tonight in the big DraftKings GPP. You should be paying for 3,000 times ROI. That's the odds. You need a 1 in 150,000 chance, and instead you're tying with 300 people and dramatically reducing your ROI by playing these really chalky captains, playing these lineups where you use most of the salary cap. Got to think outside the box tonight. And again, as frustrating as it has been in recent slates where these defenses have been hitting, where these really popular captains have been hitting, your eyes should light up when you see two guys take up 50% of the captain ownership on DraftKings. It really should. So back to low risk lineups. So you're not going to be able to do this tonight by playing. You're not going to be able to play Connor in captain. You're not going to be able to play Steelers in captain. You're going to have to get creative. We like kickers. So just you have to get creative in low risk lineups tonight. You're going to be able to fit these four guys. These are the guys you want to fit into your low risk lineups. Boswell as well. So just get a little creative with the captain spot. Now remember on DraftKings, because there is the salary multiplier as well as the points multiplier for the captain spot, you don't necessarily need the highest scorer to be in captain as long as you have the highest scoring lineup. Now in FanDuel, completely different story where you need the highest scoring guy in your captain spot because there's no salary difference. There's no penalty for fitting in a higher priced player in captain on FanDuel. Over there, you'll see if you try to fit in the highest floor plays, Connor, Rudolph, Fitzpatrick, it leaves you with 8,500 per player. Really tough, even if you try to fit in Boswell. Another high floor kicking option, 14-point favorite. That still leaves you with 7,000. So again, low risk is definitely, sorry, these should be swapped. It should be Connor at captain, Rudolph, if you're looking for the highest floor. 7K, what you'll end up doing, I think, tonight is, because even Balaj, who is cheaper on DraftKings, you won't be able to fit him in this lineup. What we'll have to look to is James Conner's backup / running mate. Jalen Samuels is technically questionable. He practiced all week, was expected to be out for a few weeks with his knee injury, but it looks like he will return tonight. So keep an eye on that injury. If he can't go, Benny Snell is extremely cheap on both sites, and it's not like Connor has been getting all the work. He got 50% 2 weeks ago before the bye, was in and out of the lineup with some injuries. They were controlling the game against the Chargers, so Benny Snell got a decent amount of work. Even before then, the Jalen Samuels game where they were running some Wildcat, they've been running a lot more two running back sets. So Jalen Samuels' injury will be pretty key to tonight's slate. I think he'll play. It sounds like he'll play after practicing all week. So that's another way to go tonight to help fit in some of these, especially on FanDuel. On DraftKings, you can easily fit in defenses and kickers for your low-risk lineup. FanDuel, you might have to use a second Steelers running back to help get in these high-floor quarterbacks as well as Connor. Okay, before we wrap up, remember the Daily Plug goes in-depth on tonight's slate. OccupyFantasy.com, talking about every player, different captains for high-risk contests, a little more low-risk strategy, a little more high-risk strategy. We'll do a quick preview here. Let's just say you are playing the $10 GPP on DraftKings. You are playing satellites and smaller contests, and you don't want to go with the crowd, which is what we recommend. You should not be going with the crowd in high-risk contests. That makes 0 sense to do. Again, you're going to lose more often than you win with this strategy. But the idea is when you win, those payouts will be massively bigger. Look at the Super Bowl GPP, 0 quarterback lineup. Took down the $1 million single-handedly from me. And even some of the other slates this year by going non-traditional captains, playing into the hashtag chaos is where you can really, really make your money in Showdown. Again, your eyes should light up when you see 50% of the captains clustered into one or two guys. And that's going to happen again tonight with Connor and the Steelers. I can't reiterate that enough. That's an ideal situation for Showdown. All right, so let's say we don't do Connor, we don't do the Steelers. How are most people going to think about this game? Steelers control the clock, pretty much keep the game in control. Let's just say that doesn't happen. Let's say Miami keeps it competitive. Let's say Miami upsets them. Let's say it's a higher scoring game than most expect. Now, the total for this game is pretty low, but the money is in the Dolphins' favor. They opened as, I think, a 15.5 point underdog. It's now down to 14. The Dolphins' team total has increased 1.5. They're up to 14-point team total. So while it's not an exactly high number, the fact that it is trending in that direction gives us a little more confidence in the Miami offense. So a couple options here to captain in high-risk contests. Quarterbacks generally have the highest floors and have the highest likelihood of being the highest scoring player, even though a receiver or running back is generally going to outscore them. They have the highest likelihood. And as a result, as we've seen on these showdown slates, the underdog quarterback has not been captained as often as he should be. Generally, he checks in under 8%. We saw the Chiefs game against the Packers. Matt Moore, the backup quarterback, he was 6% captain. Case Keenum was 6 or 8% captain on Thursday night. And we saw in the Jets game, Sam Darnold was 5 or 6% captain. And that's going to continue to happen. It's a very clear trend now. Is the chalk going to continue to hit? No, it's not. And people may respond to this video saying, well, they were 6% captain for a reason. Yeah, in hindsight, they were. But we have to look at actual expectations. These quarterbacks are not going to continue to hit in the bottom 5% range of outcomes every single slate. Eventually, they're going to hit even in the top 50% of their outcomes. And at reduced ownership, that is what we should be looking for. This makes even more sense on FanDuel because the massive amount of ties. If you play James Conner in captain, you're going to tie with at least 50 people for first place if you win somehow. However, even if you drop to Fitzpatrick, it's going to be tough. You have to get really crazy on FanDuel. You have to leave salary over, at least $1,500 in salary on FanDuel, and probably even more to have a chance at a unique lineup. Really, on FanDuel, you should be reducing your allocation unless your goal is to really pick up a ton of satellite tickets or in a low-risk night where everything fits perfectly. It's really tough unless you have a ton of risk tolerance on FanDuel, because you're going to have to leave a lot of money on the table to get a unique lineup, even if you play a non-popular captain. So for tonight, some captain options, a high-risk contest. And again, the Daily Plug will go in-depth on this. Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then some of the Dolphins pass catchers. Preston Williams has been seeing a ton of air yards, due for some touchdowns. He is on our underperforming receivers list for this week. Devontae Parker also seeing a decent amount of air yards. If you want to get really, really crazy, Mike Gesicki, 3,600 on DraftKings, has also seen over 100 air yards over the last 2 weeks. Again, if Jalen Samuels is in, he makes a decent amount of sense at 4,400 as a captain, assuming if this goes back to being a wildcat game and Connor's limited in any way. Benny Snell, if Samuels is out, makes sense. And even some Steelers pass catchers. Most people are going to play Connor and the Steelers. So even guys like Juju, James Washington is back from injury. Deontay Johnson. These Steelers pass catchers are going to go less than 10% owned in captain. So any game script where the Steelers don't win by a ton by running the ball and the defense causing turnovers is going to be a low-owned game script, and that's what you should hope for. Yes, so here's the key. You have to think about what's likely to happen, and then you play that script in low-risk lineups, right? However, just because it's the most likely to happen, collectively, based on all the other possibilities, it's still not likely to be the game script that happens. So even though maybe 40% of the time Steelers win by a lot and control the ground game and cause turnovers, 60% of the time that's not going to happen. And while there are individual slices of what's going to happen in that 60%, those individual slices go way under-owned compared to that 40%. So keep that in mind for tonight. Again, we'll go in-depth in the OccupyFantasy.com daily plug that I write for every Thursday and every Monday showdown slate. Again, this is the same strategy I used to win the $1 million. Single game slates are not being played optimally still, especially in these large contests. And even low risk, these 50-50s and double ups head-to-heads, people aren't playing them properly. They're trying to jam in high-priced guys like captain on DraftKings and fit in 1K players. It's not the way to go. So if you want more strategy, more tips, check out OccupyFantasy.com. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. We'll be doing more videos on a daily and weekly basis. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them below in the comments section. I'll answer them here before the slate starts at 8:20 tonight. All right, guys, thanks for listening. If you have anything else, you can follow me on Twitter at Brian Jester FF or follow us at Occupy Fantasy. Again, subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and leave a comment if you have any questions about your lineups or players to play tonight. All right, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.